is CNN Breaking News.
Hello and welcome to our viewers here in the United States and all around the world. I'm Lynda Kinkade with CNN's breaking news coverage of Israel at war. Take your belongings and go south. That's the message from Israel to the residents in northern Gaza as it prepares to launch a military ground operation at any moment. The U.S. is now sending a second carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean as well as additional fighter jets. The move is intended to deter Iran, Hezbollah and others from entering the conflict. On Saturday, Israel declared it's ready to open a new phase in the war with a focus on significant ground operations. The IDF says it struck more than 100 Hamas targets in Gaza overnight. A CNN team close to the northern Gaza has been hearing heavy machine gun fire near the border fence, as well as loud explosions. Earlier, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met soldiers on the front lines, offering words of support and telling them to be prepared. Palestinian authorities in Gaza say the death toll from the Israeli airstrikes is now more than 2,300 people, with more than 9,000 injured. According to the health ministry, 300 of those deaths were in just the past 24 hours, most of them women and children. Israel claims it has already killed 2 senior Hamas leaders who were behind last weekend's massacres. Earlier, I interviewed a spokesperson from the IDF about one such operation in the past several hours.
I can inform you that over the night we attacked and killed one of the Nukhba commandos leaders that from Khan Yunis. His name is Bilal El-Kidra. He was the leader that conducted the butcher and attack in the Nirim kibbutz. And this just goes to exemplify that we have the intelligence in order to take out Hamas's leadership from Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind of the massacre, all the way down to the terrorists that breached, penetrated and butchered our babies in their bedrooms.
Elliot Gotkine is covering all the developments for us and joins us now live from London. Good to have you with us, Elliot. So Israel has continued to strike Gaza in retaliation for the Hamas terror attacks. It has also carried out some ground raids. What can you tell us about this second stage in their offensive?
It seems like it's imminent, Lynda. We've been talking about the possibility, indeed the likelihood, of a ground invasion since Hamas launched that terrorist attack more than a week, just over a week ago, killing more than 1,300 people inside of Israel. And we really do seem like we are getting very, very close to this actually happening. And of course, the evacuation call from the Israeli Defense Forces to Gazans living, especially in Gaza City, but in the northern part of the Strip, to tell them to grab their belongings and move south, is designed to get the civilian population out of harm's way and to minimize civilian casualties for this expected ground invasion. But it's much more complicated than previous ones, not least because of the more than 100 hostages that Hamas grabbed when it launched that attack into Israel. They are believed by the IDF to be being kept underground. And of course, Hamas also has this kind of labyrinth of tunnels, almost like an underground city underneath the surface of Gaza, which will also provide them with problems and will allow Hamas militants both additional defensive and offensive capabilities. And of course, all the while, we are also seeing the death toll in the Gaza Strip rising, as you've just said. And of course, there are concerns that the northern border could become an additional front. And in fact, just as we were coming on air, the IDF sending out a report saying that there was fire towards a community in northern Israel called Shtula, and that Israel is, as we speak, striking the origins, the source of that fire in southern Lebanon. Now, it hasn't turned into an additional front just yet, but if it does, Israel has warned that it will bring destruction on Lebanon. Lynda?
And of course, we know, Elliot, that the U.S. is sending a second aircraft carrier and fighter jets to the region. Just how involved will the U.S. get?
Well, the US involvement, this relatively rare deployment of a second aircraft carrier to the eastern Mediterranean, is specifically to try to deter this additional front from opening and to deter Hezbollah, which is, of course, the Shia militia backed by Iran, from getting involved in the war. It's a kind of a warning to both Hezbollah and to Iran, and to a lesser extent to Syria, where we've also seen some rockets being fired towards Israel. I think it's pretty clear that the US is not going to have boots on the ground at any stage here. It's already providing additional military aid to Israel since this particular war began, and perhaps it may increase that involvement at some point, but no one really is expecting boots on the ground. For now, it is support, both in terms of political support and in terms of military aid, and the presence of those two aircraft carriers really designed to send a clear message to Hezbollah and its backers in Tehran that they should not get involved if they don't want to suffer the consequences. Lynda?
And Elliot, just speak to us big picture about the reaction we are seeing around the world and how it's changed over the course of the past week.
I think to begin with, there was quite a lot of support rallying around Israel from the international community, really shocked at the barbarity and savagery of this terrorist attack by Hamas in the early hours of last Saturday morning. But of course, as the civilian death toll has risen in Gaza, which was inevitable, sadly, given how embedded in the civilian population Hamas is, there's been a sense that this has generally been shifting, that there's been more calls, naturally, for concern for Israel to take greater care with civilian lives. And of course, we've seen this play out in the past, that when there are wars in Gaza and the civilian death toll rises, that this kind of calls for more care to be taken with civilians, kind of moves over into potential condemnation of Israel, whether it's the United Nations or by international bodies. Now, we've heard from other countries in the region, such as the United Arab Emirates, calling for for Israel to take more care with civilians. And there are, of course, discussions underway to try to get some kind of safe passage for American civilians and also for other citizens of Gaza out of the Rafah crossing in the south of the Strip. But for now, aid is not able to get in. And it seems that for now, people are not able to get out either. So I think that we will, over the coming days, see more criticism of Israel and perhaps leading to some kind of condemnation in various bodies at the United Nations. I think Israel knows that that is likely to happen at some point. But I think given the gravity of this terrorist attack on Israel, which has been described by the president of Israel as the darkest day, the biggest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust in a single day, that Israel is perhaps less concerned about the optics right now than it has been in the past. Lynda?
All right, Elliot, Gotkine, we'll leave it there for now. Joining us live from London. Thanks so much.